Miller, feel free to start whenever you would like to.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the February 8th, 2021 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. And we'll start with the roll call. Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Drainville, Commissioner Gerding, Commissioner Cantola,
I'm here.
Commissioner Wilson,
I'm here.
and do we have Commissioner Jackson as the other showing up as staff there? No? Okay. And we also have also present, we have City Council member Zabel.
Hey, everybody.
So with that, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
States of America, and to the republic
for which
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the first item tonight is approval of the meeting minutes from our November meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, November. January 11th, 2021 meeting. We've had a meeting this year, yes. I would ask, are there any changes or additions to those meeting minutes that anyone would like to make? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our meeting on January 11th.
so moved.
Do I have a second? All right, I have a motion and a second. So all in favor of approval of the January 11th, 2021 Environmental Management Commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. All right, tonight, the main item on our agenda is to talk about the 2020 Washington County Recycling Grant. And as you know, for those of you who have been on the commission for a while, this is a regular item every year. We receive a grant from Washington County to promote recycling in Oakdale. And we've done various things over the years to improve recycling. We've had education, we've had events where we have stressed recycling. We've done gone out to multifamily housing to do surveys on their recycling. So the summary here that our staff representative Shannon Reidlinger has put together was I think I'll let Shannon talk to that, and I'll just remind you that this is part of our our plan. It's in the Oakdale Comprehensive Plan as well, and part of our plan for this year. So Shannon, I think I'll turn it over to you to give a summary and where we're at with this year.
Thank you, Chair Miller. So I did prepare a PowerPoint that I will go ahead and share with you all, just so that you have a little bit of a visual to understand what we're talking about here. All right. So as the chair mentioned, I did include a summary memo that explains at a very high level what the 4 different projects we committed to in 2020 were, and then a little bit about how those projects were delivered. But I wanted to use this PowerPoint to give you a tiny bit more insight into how those projects came to be in 2020. And I will preface this PowerPoint by saying, obviously, COVID had a pretty significant impact on what we were able to achieve in 2020. And then as well, the job transition from Jen to myself also sort of influenced what we were able to achieve. So I think that the goals that we wanted to hit for 2020 may not have been as readily accessible as we would have hoped. Still, we were able to accomplish a few things in the last few months of 2020 that I wanted to share with you all right now. So our first project that we committed to was to promote the Environmental Center, and that did happen. An ad, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen here, went out in each of the Oakdale update newsletters. And those are mailed to 12,983 households in Oakdale with each newsletter update. So as far as metrics are concerned, that's how many people we assume that we have reached with this ad. How many we actually reached, whoever read the newsletter, is a little bit more debatable, but those are the metrics that we have for that particular project. The second project had to do with promoting the biz recycling program. And again, on the right-hand side of the screen here, you can see sort of the visual deliverable that we were able to push out at the beginning of this year. We worked with Washington County to create a mailer. You'll see the front and back on the right-hand side of the screen there that just basically outlines the program itself and gives a little bit more information about what biz recycling is. So we did get this mailer sent out to 393 eligible businesses in Oakdale. That was a mailing list that I had winnowed down myself based on the eligibility parameters. I'm not positive that that actually covered everyone. So it could be that there are some eligible businesses that didn't receive this mailer, and that may be something that we want to work on for next year. We also did include an ad for biz recycling into an email that went out to some businesses who were eligible for COVID relief funds. It was about 52 on that email. We had 24 unique opens of that email, and I'm not sure how many people actually went to the biz recycling website after that, but it was included in that particular email. Third project, promoting recycling to multifamily housing development. So again, we did also send that mailer that I had shown on the previous slide. We sent that out to 6 eligible apartment buildings. So there are certain apartment buildings that are eligible to participate in biz recycling. It's if they have 6 or more units on the complex grounds. So 6 apartment buildings received that mailer. We also did a couple of social media posts about recycling in general. On America Recycles Day on November 15th, pushed a post through Facebook and Twitter that had decent engagement, over 1,000 views for Facebook users. And then on September 22nd, we sent out a link to a Washington County survey. Washington County wanted to get more information from residents on how they're recycling right now and maybe what some of the difficulties are currently in recycling. We did get a summary of that survey sent to us, but I'm not sure if they've done much data analysis on the back end. So again, that's something where I can follow up with Washington County and ask them, did anyone from Oakdale fill this out? Was there any trends that we could maybe hopefully implement those learnings in the future grant cycle for Oakdale in particular? So I can take that as a to-do, but that survey was shared in a post on September 22nd. And then our last project is to promote the organics program. And this is one where if we had more time in 2020, I would have loved to build this out a little bit more. And again, if we think that this is an important goal for 2021, we might be able to kind of work towards completing this particular project. But as far as what we accomplished in this past year, the goal was to promote the organics program. And we did include a social media post again on Facebook and Twitter on November 9th, directing residents towards Washington County's informational website on the organics program. And then we also had 2 of our own commission members who very kindly volunteered some of their own experiences and information with the organics program. I think that you guys spoke to Jen back in May or June of this year. And Alyssa, the communication specialist who spoke with us at our last meeting, she and I had kind of tried to think through if there was a quick and easy way to promote the organics program with that interview material yet in 2020. And we're a little concerned that if we tried to push it out too quickly, people wouldn't understand that the organics program was a Washington County resource and not an Oakdale resource. And so there's a little bit more intentionality that I think needs to be built into promoting this particular program to make sure people aren't confused. But I do think that having personal experience of our commission members with this program is going to be invaluable to help people understand what the program is and why they should be participating in it. So that's just a really brief overview of what we had committed to in 2020, a lot of promotional stuff, and then what we were able to achieve last year. Are there any questions about that? Any concerns about the reporting itself? And if you do have any questions, please feel free to send them my way after this meeting.
Just a quick comment, if I may, Shannon. Thank you again
Absolutely.
for sharing all this. And I will shamelessly use myself to plug it again. If you need more content, more testimonial, as we consider the intentionality, as you should, with regard to this program as county program as it relates to our residents here locally, like I'd be happy to rally some more troops on our behalf. So this is something that's worked really, really well for our household, and I'm happy to continue sharing what helps make it possible. So.
Well, maybe we could look to maybe do some like Facebook Live, like maybe a question and answer session or something with probably your guidance to make sure that we are, we have intentional messaging, like you said. But for members who do utilize it, for those that have questions, that might be a fun thing that we can do live and then record and promote socially.
Absolutely. And this kind of dovetails nicely into the question that I wanted to ask the commission, which is, as we're thinking about 2021 and reapplying for this grant that, as Chair Miller said, we've had for many, many years running now, what do we want to sort of focus on when it comes to priorities? Now, I put out here our comprehensive plan specifically, and that is, I'm seeing wrong, it's Chapter 8, Goal 2, Policy 7, not Policy 1, my bad guys, that talks about what we want to achieve, what the city wants to achieve when it comes to reducing waste and increasing recycling. And I also have a note on there that there are a few themed months in our editorial calendar that have to do with recycling, composting, just beautification in general. So if we wanted to continue on with some of the priorities that were beginning to bubble to the surface for 2020, namely promoting recycling with Oakdale businesses and apartment buildings, promoting the composting organics drop-off program, and then in general, just making sure that Oakdale residents know what their recycling options are. We can carry those ideas forward into 2021 as well, and then just kind of be a little bit more creative and innovative with what we're able to do now that we don't have staff transition, and I will be dedicated throughout the entire year to thinking through these programs. So to your point, if we did want to continue on with promoting the organics drop-off program, Alyssa and I have already talked about doing something much more built out. Maybe it is a Facebook Live. Maybe it's kind of creating some sort of a video content that piggybacks off of the two commission members that have already shared their experience to kind of visualize for people what composting actually is and what they can do in their homes. Alyssa is kind of firing on all cylinders when it comes to thinking through creative communication avenues here. So she would definitely be on board with helping us build this out quite a bit more that goes beyond just writing a Facebook and a Twitter post, which is still a very good thing, but we can do more.
Are we able to partner with the site? I know as a resident, I've utilized it. It's in St. Paul, and you can drop off like leaves and trees and such, and they compost there, and the name is escaping me, so I apologize. Nick, maybe you might know, because I know that's kind of your world. Okay, no, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. But I know that, so you can compost there, but then you can also go and get compost. So maybe we can partner with them and then also look to promote like why compost matters, and what you can do with it. And then is there a community garden that we can volunteer at, or something that we can like show application versus just theory?
Yeah, that's a great point. I will say, because it is the Washington County grant, whatever program we promote has to be Washington County specific. So as far as the organics program that they have and they're running is concerned, I think that it would be worth asking whether or not you get compost out of that as well as receiving it. But I think, to your point, Gretel, the whole idea of really visualizing application and making people understand that even though it sounds like it would be kind of complicated, it's not, is huge. And that's where Alyssa comes into play here. That's where she can kind of help us think through, do we actually record a video? Do we do this Facebook Live? Do we have signs that we put out? What do we do to make sure that people understand how this can apply to their own lives?
We might be able to partner with the Washington County Horticultural Society. They do a lot, they're all gardeners. And I know quite a few of them are composters themselves, but we could pitch to them the environmental center compost site in case some people weren't taking advantage of it.
Sure. Thank you for that.
Be clear, I do not believe you can pick up compost like soil from the Washco one. It was a St. Paul location, which, like you said, might be out of scope or would be out of scope. So I don't believe we'd be able to do that if it needed to stay in Washco.
One thing that is available now, we have Tennis as our trash hauler, and they offer composting from sometime in April through mid-November approximately. Do all of our trash haulers offer composting? Is that available to all residents? I'm not sure of that, and that might be something we want to look at potentially, is to have that as an option for all the residents to compost with their trash hauler.
I know when I lived in a multifamily condo unit, that was not available to us through waste management. So I'm not sure if it would matter whether or not you were multi versus single.
Keith, quick question.
Yes.
When you say Tennis offers composting, are you referring to the yard waste disposal, or is that a separate thing that they offer as compost specifically?
Well, it's yard waste disposal, yes.
Okay.
But it
Sure.
goes to a composting site, as I understand.
Okay. I was unclear if they would let, because typically compost can include food waste, and I don't know if they want food waste running through their.
No organics
Yeah.
are. So it's not organic waste, it's yard waste, yeah, for compost.
Right.
So
Okay. I was unclear on that. Thank you for clarifying.
yeah, we would still need to promote the organics because that's something that we don't have. Well, I mean, residents that would be what we'd promote, is to have an option for organics. And I guess I have a question about the organics. Where do you take your organics?
The same place. So the environmental center, they've really got a pretty slick operation set up since COVID. You used to kind of take it through their drive-through. Now they have just like a giant like organics dumpster bin basically. And you can take the bags as you go instead of having someone hand them to you. So it's a lot less contact. And we do it all the time. So it's really slick and well set up, and people are super respectful of only taking what they need, which is amazing. And the bin is free, I believe. It's been years, so maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong there.
It's free. Yeah.
It's free. Okay. I was like, it's either free or $10. I couldn't remember. And yeah, I mean, it's super compact and perfect for, I used to live in just less than 1,000 square feet, and it was perfect. So it's, a small family, a big family. I'm sure that it could accommodate either way, but very simple to do. You just drop it and go. So it's very simple, very time convenient.
And I think when it comes to the details of these projects, that would be something that once we apply for the grant and kind of get approval for our project ideas, that we'll figure out the minutia of what the program is and how we promote it. But what I'm sounding like it is that there's a lot of energy around the idea of continuing on with promoting the organics program in 2021 for that grant cycle. So that would definitely be one of the things that we want to apply for grant funds for.
And are we able to get metrics? How many Oakdale residents utilized in 2020 versus 2021 so that we could show the benefits of our program?
That's a great question, and I will try and figure that out because I also really want that information.
Yeah, they used to make you show your ID and they'd record your zip code.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's less because of COVID. They're really trying to avoid as much contact as possible. So there's really almost no speaking to the individuals working anymore.
I'm making a note and I will be sure to ask.
And speaking of metrics, Shannon, in the past, we've had metrics from the waste haulers. I think they are now required to provide metrics on waste and recycling that they pick up. And I think that's through Washington County.
Okay.
And in the past, the metrics have not been very reliable, but I think they have been trying to improve that system of getting better metrics from the haulers. And it would be great if we could get an update on, percent recycling, if that's going up and what direction that's heading. And a thought about that is to, especially around plastics recycling, is to get, to inform people about what plastics are acceptable for recycling. I think that's always a question. I know the haulers have issued, like a one-page sheet on, what's recyclable and what's not, as far as paper and plastics and all that. And to my understanding, or at least it used to vary by hauler, and like some of them did not pick up certain plastics. And I know like tennis will accept plastic bags if they're bundled together in one plastic bag. So if you put a bunch of plastic bags in one bag and so it's identifiable, they'll accept that. But, I think there's always that confusion about with, especially like, well, our, frozen food boxes, recycle, that type of thing. So I think some clarification on that, and it may have to be done by hauler. Fortunately, I'm not to make sure that it's accurate. But that would be one way we could help promote the recycling, is to make sure people understand what is and what isn't recycled.
Okay.
Might even be fun too, maybe, because to Keith's point, the haulers are so different.
Yeah.
But like, can you recycle a tissue box? Probably, because it's cardboard. But what about that plastic ring where the tissues come out? Like, maybe we can just do generalized best practices. Are Post-it notes recyclable? I get that one quite a bit. Like things like that, where it might not be specific to a hauler per se, just so that it might be a little more simpler for us. but it is still like general practices that people have questions on that maybe they feel kind of dumb asking. Like, let's break it down. So like, hey, this is a question everyone has, and it seems more simplistic and user friendly, and like, don't be embarrassed, kind of.
Okay, so what I'm hearing as far as when we're going back to Washington County and reapplying for this 2021 grant is 3 different buckets. One, the organics drop off, building that whole idea out a little bit more with Alyssa. 2, I'm hearing that continuing to promote recycling practices in residential and multifamily might be an option if we can figure out how to do a project that tracks behavior change. So we already know that a specific number of apartment buildings and businesses already are participating in biz recycling. Since we know that foundational number, can we do a project that helps move the needle a little bit to say, we want to increase this number by 10% or 20% or whatever number it is, but have some sort of a project that gets at behavior change. And then the third bucket being just, again, general education for people, demystifying some of the questions that they have about what they can recycle and when. And I think that's a little bit easier to kind of push out there in bite-sized chunks. Does that sound maybe like 3 good general buckets of goals?
Yeah, that sounds great, Shannon.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, so to keep you guys updated, I am currently wrapping up reporting for the 2020 grant cycle, and then 2021 is currently open. And I believe I need to get verification on this, but I believe that they like to have those projects submitted to Washington County by the end of February. So that is kind of the cycle that I'm seeing. And then I will go back to Alyssa based on what our grant application looks like for 2021 and start to brainstorm with her plenty of ideas about how we can really hit the ground running this year.
That sounds great, Shannon. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's good. I like that plan and that approach, and the timing of our meeting is perfect. It gives Shannon a little bit of time to pull that grant together this month yet, and with those 3 points of emphasis in our plan or in our grant proposal. So thank you for that, Shannon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and before we move off, I just wanted to mention I'm just now seeing this comment by Councilmember Zabel on stats about multifamily housing and recycling. Understanding how many multifamily complexes currently recycle and how many more we can add to that is a goal that I have for this new project. I believe right now there are somewhere around 8 or so multifamily complexes that are participating in the biz recycling program, and I need to verify that number, so I will follow up with you on that. But I do want to try and figure out if we can change that number at all in 2021.
I should mention there will be a lot of multifamily housing units in the Willowbrook development. That's on the north of the old Imation. And it might be a good time for one of us to make contact with the developer and say, we're really interested in helping you make that a good recycling goal.
Great point. Thank you for that.
Yes, that is something to be out in front of, and I'll have a comment later on as far in the new area of other items about Willowbrook, and so thank you for that, Commissioner Wilson. Okay, so I think we have a good approach there to our proposal for the year. And the next item on our agenda is editorial calendar review. So we had a great discussion in January about the editorial calendar, and now we've all had some time to think about things that we may want to add or things that we want to emphasize. And we've received the excuse me, in our mailer here, just our February and March part of the calendar. And I thought this evening, especially to talk about what we want to start with in this month and next month. Are there things that we want to emphasize? So certainly Global Recycling Day on March 18th, maybe something based on our discussion we just had. Could be something we could roll something out to people on Global Recycling Day, or make people aware, use that as a way to focus our communication for the month on this. And are there other things here that people would like to add or pick up on any of the items mentioned? There's also World Water Day is next month. So I'll just open it up to discussion about the editorial calendar and get your comments about that.
I guess I have a question more for Shannon. I know we had talked about setting up this communication plan around these days and to promote what we find important on this commission. Do we own that content entirely though, or does the communication manager own the content?
So the editorial calendar is housed in communications.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an idea that Alyssa has had for a while that just happened to start with the EMC. You guys are the first commission that really took it up and decided to add content that was specific to the commission into that editorial calendar. But she's the one who organizes everything. She's thinking through the strategy of how to push content and when. So if we have anything we want to include from an EMC perspective, then we can go ahead and do that. And she'll just incorporate it into her overall strategy.
Okay. So Keith, I think to your point then, or maybe for everyone, are we just looking to approve and like add more to it as far as ideas? Or like, were you asking for content?
No, I wasn't asking for specific content. I was asking for, are there additional things, or are there things here that we would want to develop content for? And like the Global Recycling Day or the World Water Day, do we want to have some content sent out through social media to the residents or to business, or to promote those days, or to use it to promote our, part of our recycling grant or in that. So that if people have ideas on things that fit in our plan, our overall plan, and I think recycling, since we just talked about that, and there's a Global Recycling Day, I think that would be a good fit to do something to have communications on recycling to residents. And maybe what we just talked about clarification on types of plastic, types of paper, what's acceptable, maybe to develop something around that, either just a simple one pager or, something that we can push out through various channels.
But solar is a big thing. And so I think there might be a solar appreciation day in early March, just looking ahead past February. Maybe that's encompassed in here or not. I'm sorry, I just quickly scanned at it, but I at least wanted to elevate that maybe as a priority, recurring at some point, but I think there's maybe a day in March. So I just wanted to share that piece.
I'll do a little bit of digging into that. I'm looking at the master editorial calendar right now, the one that Alyssa shared with us during our last meeting. And I'm not seeing much of anything related to solar for the rest of the year. So if this is the relevant time for it, March, then I would love to get that on the calendar.
We can make up our own stuff too. I mean, if March is packed with recycling, like we can throw something out there for that national day, but we can also do like spring into solar if we wanted to re-highlight it in May, or some like for whenever, like May Day or whatever. I mean, we can do what we want.
Absolutely. Yeah, the days and the months and the special stuff on the calendar was just a jumping off point. But I think that Alyssa would agree that if it's stuff that we just want to make up and we want to focus on it at a particular time, that's what she wants to know.
There's an interesting website on Global Recycling Day that has resources and something about recycling heroes and things like that. I just skimmed it, but it might be something we'd all want to look at and see if there's something we want to send to Alyssa that we would like to do or see or
Yeah, and when it comes to the specifics, I think that Alyssa usually has a handle on those particular resources. And I mean, like I said before, she's the expert. She knows exactly where to go and what to do. But it sounds like to me, what I can relay back to her is that in March, this idea of focusing on recycling as a topic is relevant. And it sounds like that's what we as a commission want her to focus on. All right, so I will take that back to her.
And then I think, I don't know if we want to do like build out monthlies, if again, we want to make May solar and then, compost August or something along those lines. Yeah, if we wanted as a commission to come up with something more generic versus like it's National Cookie Day, like how does that relate to environmental? Like make it organic, like instead of being so literal. If we had, I mean, we have our framework of what we're interested in, like let's just stick a month on it.
Yeah, that's definitely the kind of feedback that Alyssa would need. Absolutely. So if you do have thoughts on that front, feel free to send them to me. And if you want to copy Alyssa on that, that's totally fine. And then be sure, as we're having any sort of communication back and forth, just make sure not to reply all. I was asked to kind of remind everyone that just stick away from replying all. Just talk directly to one single person, and that way we stick with our Minnesota statutes. But yes, to that point, please feel free if you have any feedback for Alyssa on generic themes for the month to send it to her.
Okay, and the intent of this calendar, as we talked about last month, is that it's a living document, and we'll modify it and as we go along and add in things and develop content for things we really want to work on with residents and businesses to help advance things in these areas. So I think this is something that will be part of each of our monthly meetings, is to look at the calendar and things coming up, or just ideas on things to put into the calendar, things we want to be communicating. So I don't know, is there anything else that any of the other commissioners would like to say about calendar thoughts? All right, hearing none, I will close this item for now, but please get a hold of Shannon, or you can also contact me if you'd like with thoughts about this. And one thing I'm going to check out is the Midwest Renewable Energy Association has sponsored Solar Twin Cities programs in the past. They did not last year. And I haven't checked yet to see if they're planning to do that this year, because this is usually the time of year where they start putting together a team to get a proposal out to solar developers that would want to be in the bid for doing the Solar Twin Cities project. I will. I've been on that team in the past, so I will contact Midwest Renewable Energy Association, find out what's going on with that. And Shannon, I'll let you know what's up with that, and we can maybe put it on the agenda for next month if that is happening. Okay. So now we're in that part of the agenda where if there are any new business that or other items that people would like to discuss related to our work, now's the time. Yes. Commissioner Zell?
Is this a good time for me to do my update?
Yeah. This would be
Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. I just have a couple updates tonight. Of course, my puppy just woke up and decided to come over and check things out. So two updates for the EMC tonight. At our last city council meeting, we reviewed preliminary site plans for a new public works campus here in Oakdale, which would be located around 32nd and Granada. So just south of County 14. Current site plans, working with the consultant that the city hired for that campus, current site plans would include a brush drop-off area for residents to use. So it's something that we've offered in the past, with like Christmas tree drop off for residents. When COVID hit, we kind of put the brakes on that because we didn't quite know how we wanted to handle the staff element of that. Working with the consultant team, we think we have an opportunity to provide something that would just be kind of a self-serve option, which would be a great plan for residents. With that anticipated move of the public works campus, the question that the city council has to deal with next is what do we do with the current public works campus right around 19th and Hadley? One of the options that staff floated and the consultants floated early on was adding an organics drop-off site to that parcel. So that is something that is currently on our radar. We are exploring, we are considering. We got a little bit of time until we make that decision, but I thought those two updates fit in well with what the EMC was talking about earlier tonight. So definitely on our radar, and we'll keep the EMC updated as we learn more. The other update I have at the EMC's last meeting, I encourage the EMC commissioners to think about budgetary asks that they might have for 2022. The city council will be starting that process in April, and I encourage everybody to bring those cost estimates to the meeting that we thought we were going to have with the EMC in February. After talking with our city administrator and some of my council colleagues, the council as a whole decided to push those meetings back to late April, early May. So it just coincides better with the budget process. And so I connected with Keith and Noah, just giving them a quick update that, we're just going to put that off for a little bit to give us a little bit more time to think about what some of those asks might be, just so when we're having that money conversation associated with those priorities of the EMC, it's aligning neatly with the council's work on the budget. So the email I had from city staff today was we're looking at mid-May. That's not nailed down yet. We'd also be doing it just a little bit differently this year in that we would actually like to meet with all 5 commissions in the same night. So each commission will have, a 30 to 40-minute time slot, and then we'll be able to hear about the work and the priorities for each of our commissions all in one night, and then we'll be able to take that forth in the budget process. So as soon as we get that date nailed down, I'm sure Shannon will be pushing out a calendar invite to you all, and I hope you can join us. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So when you talk about the potential news site for the Public Works position, just that's about 8 blocks down from our little abode. And so are you potentially looking at what would that be, the west or the east side of Granada?
It would be the west side. So it's actually the old Superfund site. So we are finalizing a deal where 3M would donate it to the city of Oakdale. The next step from there would be working with the MPCA through the Brownfield. I always call it Brownstone, but that's a building. The Brownfield Reform and Restoration Program. So long story short is the MPCA has a process in place where they work with the EPA and other state agencies to handle development on these, formerly known as Superfund sites in a safe and responsible manner. And so we would be working, hand in hand, step by step with them to use that parcel for this purpose. So, a big hat tip to Brian Bachmeyer at Public Works. He's been working very closely with 3M and MPCA for a long time now to get that donated to the city. So we have that opportunity. To put something on that land and do it at a financial benefit to the city. So yeah, west side. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Councilmember Zabel. That's great information. Good to know about the city's plans for Public Works and also the more details on the schedule. So I would ask the commissioners that we, over the next couple months, think about, especially with these projects we may want to be doing, if there are any requirements for budget considerations. So we can get some estimates when we meet, by the time we meet with the city council on that. One thing, Willowbrook was brought up earlier, and I have been trying to get a hold of someone with Willowbrook associated with that. It's really difficult to get through the Lennar system to somebody. I've left messages, but I haven't received anything back. And mainly I'm just interested in on their main website, they do have solar available as options, and they do have I forget if they call it sustainable building options available for residents. I'm just wondering if that's for particular developments and if they'll be doing that with Willowbrook. And so I'm trying to find out some further information about that. And so also with the multifamily, great to know what they're planning for recycling. I'm also interested in their, if they just follow the Minnesota building code, or if they do offer, super insulation on houses or options like that with their sustainable building type homes, and whether that will be included in Willowbrook or not. I assume that, in a lot of these developments, you pick what you want from a array of homes that they offer. So I would guess that it is, but I'd like to follow up with that and just know what's available. And that, I'm interested in sustainable housing. And so just as a consumer, I would like to know what's going to be available there. So, so that's something I'm going to try to follow up on. And one other topic area that we had in our plan last year to do something with was plastics, and it does relate to the recycling that we talked about earlier. And, you know, many communities are looking at single-use plastics and eliminating single-use plastics where possible. So that's something that also may warrant further discussion on what other communities have done and what we could possibly do here in Oakdale regarding the single-use plastics. You know, this is really a big issue as more and more plastics are getting into the environment and you know, breaking down, and then you have microfibers of plastics that you know are getting into water supplies and things like that. So I think it's something that we could take a look at along with our, you know, the plastics recycling program, but maybe a look at the single-use plastics in particular. So is there any other items that any of the commissioners would like to bring forward? No? Okay, so I've given myself a couple of action items here. One is I will check on the Solar Twin Cities program, see if that's happening. I'm going to follow up with Willowbrook about their sustainable building or building codes that they have or offer homes in. And also while I'm checking on that, I can check about their multifamily offerings for, and if they think about things like recycling from those multifamily units. Yeah, and I will also do some research into the single-use plastics. And if anyone else would like to, on the plastics issue, if that's something that interests you, be happy to have you take a look at that as well, because I know there's a lot out there on that, and I'm not going to get to a lot of it. So if anybody wants to volunteer on that, you're welcome to help out.
And looking at our editorial calendar, I think plastics is a topic of concern for July. So if it's not now, then it might be in the summertime.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Well, if there are no other items, I will just point out that our next meeting is on March 15th. So in the meantime, we will look at these other items, and commissioners, if you can continue to think about our schedule and communications that you'd like to see going out, and to communicate directly with Shannon on that, and can put something together with Alyssa possibly for communications for next month. With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of adjourning our February 8th, 2021 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for your contributions tonight.